I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening, and I want to thank you all for taking your time out to come here this evening, hear what's going on in the city and in our district. I've got to tell you that this wouldn't have been possible without the staff from the city of McAllen. They've done a great job, and you're going to hear from them throughout the evening. And then at the end, there will be time for questions, answers, suggestions, and please feel free to bring stuff up, because there were things that came up that were brought forward at the meeting that was held last year that we've been able to put in place and work on, and we'll kind of talk about that some as we go through this evening. So, like I said, please feel free to bring something up, and even during the presentation, if you have a question, you don't have to wait to the end. Just please raise your hand, and the presenter will call on you, and we'll have a good open dialogue. That's what this is all about tonight. We want to hear what y'all are thinking, and try and bring it forward and make the city a better place. Before we get started, I'd like to thank just a few people here real quick. First off is Roy Rodriguez. He's the city manager. We have Michelle Leftwich, the assistant city manager. Jeff Johnson, assistant city manager, and Joe Vetta, assistant city manager. And then we have Elma Vela, nice lady outside who makes all of us commissioners and mayor look really good, even when we don't. She makes us look really good, so we appreciate that. Xochitl Mora, she is brand new with the city. You've been here about a month, 2 months. Okay, she is our director of communications. She's came to us from the city of Laredo. Done a great job, and we're glad she's on board with the city of McAllen now. In the back, we have Mike Hernandez with Parks, Elvita Alonso with Public Works. We have representatives from the police department here. Our chief was going to be here, but he is testifying before the Texas Senate today in a hearing, so he wasn't able to get back. But we appreciate y'all being here this evening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roy, who's going to start off the presentation.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really want to thank Trey, Commissioner Beverly, and the rest of the commission. This is not new. Trey did this last year, and other city commissioners are doing the same thing. We realize how important it is to come out to the community, to come out to you, and tell you a little bit about the things that we're doing. And obviously we're going to tell you about what we think are good things, but really we're here to answer anything that you've got. Like Commissioner Pebley said, we owe it to you. We have a duty to ensure that we provide you whatever information you need as our citizen, and that's what we're here to do today. So while we have a presentation, we want you to make sure to feel comfortable about asking anything that we're doing.
Hey, Roy, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention, if anybody would like any water or anything, there's some in that ice chest. Please feel free to get in. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. And so, many of us realize how lucky we are to live in this community as you do. We're in a very special place in the state of Texas, but you're in a really special city. And we could say that over and over. There's reason to do it, but we wanted to show you what others think of your community from around the state and around the country. McAllen most recently was ranked #1 for best place to live in the United States for quality of life from U.S. News and World Report, June of 2016. McAllen was ranked 7th as the 7th safest city in America by 2015 smartasset.com. In that same survey, we were ranked the safest city in Texas, with the best mid-sized city for careers by Forbes in 2015. McAllen was ranked #3 for best city for future job growth by Forbes in 2014, and ranked #1 for third consecutive quarter in 2015 as the least expensive city to live in the United States by Council for Community and Economic Research. So these are people that do this for a living, and they ranked your community, our community, at the top of many of these things. I'm going to introduce Michelle Lethwich for a little bit before I come back. But before I do that, you know, a lot of folks talk about city management and they think about the city manager. Sometimes I'm popular, sometimes I'm not. But the truth of the matter is that we have an incredible team that I had the fortune of helping to put together. And not only at the department level, but these folks behind me. And a lot of folks don't realize that we have 34 departments in the city of McAllen. 34. We are truly a full service city. And that's a term that's used in city management. And so Michelle is over these departments, and I really want to give her credit for the things that she does. She's over the city secretary department, the tax office, strategic planning, CDBG, environmental health, and code of compliance, inspections, engineering, and urban and development. Michelle Lethbridge.
Everyone, it's really a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Thank you all so much for taking time. We know you have families and things going on in your lives, and we appreciate you taking the time to come and let us tell you some of the great things going on in our city. One of the really exciting things that I get to do is I get to help with the economic development driving in the city. As Roy mentioned, I work over building inspections, permitting, code compliance, who's also here tonight, code enforcement, health permits, and all of that. But one of the really exciting things is we get to go out and we get to bring business into the city of McAllen. So some of the things that Roy will be talking to you about later, we get to see way in advance of when they make decisions to come here. Sprouts is one of our really recent success stories. They had a 10,000 square foot store on Hackberry and 10th Street, and they were desperately looking for a larger space. They wanted to bring in their prototype, their brand new prototype, and so we worked with a number of different property owners and finally were able to put together the parties that were able to bring this 30,000 square foot prototype in this beautiful store on Dove and 10th Street, and it's doing very well. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. That's some of the things that I get a chance to do and go out and get to see. They had their grand opening on August 31st. You can see what a beautiful store it is, not just clean and healthy, but it's beautiful too, and it's an opportunity for our citizens to make choices for their lifestyle, to be healthy and to enjoy their lives further. Another thing that I've had the pleasure of being a huge part of is Tres Lagos, the master plan community on the very northern edge of town at Monte Cristo and Ware Road. That's a 2,600 acre master plan community that they're going to have full services. You're going to be able to see 3 different types of housing is going in right now, 3 different price ranges. They have single family homes. The Texas A&M campus is going in this general vicinity, and right now if you drive out there you can see steel going up for the IDEA Academy that's going to have a K through 12 engineering environmental school feeder for the campus. That's just the beginning. As you can see, this first 670 acres is phase 1. All of this is anticipated to take about 30 years to develop. Although with the addition of the Texas A&M campus, we anticipate that it will probably go a lot faster, which is good news for the city because it brings in more people, more jobs, more education, more choices for our children that they can stay local. For those that can't travel, they have family obligations here. They can stay and get first class quality education. Of course, we have UTRGV, which is also first class. We have South Texas College, but this just gives them more options and more degree programs that they can work with. This area has what's called a tax increment reinvestment zone, which is paying for a lot of the infrastructure and the campus, part of the campus building that's going to be going up there. What that means to you in simple terms is that the monies that are being collected from these areas where people are starting to move in and businesses are starting to go are being reinvested back into this area. So they're not taking from the taxes from District 2 or District 1 or District 5. They're primarily feeding back into the same area where it's coming out of, so that it helps to grow that area without taking from the rest of the city. Here's a rendering of what the Texas A&M campus is anticipated to start looking like. It's anticipated to open in fall of 2017. If all goes well later this week, we'll have a groundbreaking in mid-December. So we'll have 2 big educational facilities going up out there at the same time. Another thing that I get the opportunity to work with is a lot of the street improvements. McAllen has some of the best streets in Texas. If you go to Corpus Christi, I was in Corpus Christi this last weekend for a soccer tournament with my daughter, and my goodness, I felt like I was on a washboard, you know, and it really makes me appreciate the quality of the streets that we have here in McAllen. We do, and Roy was telling a funny story at the last meeting that we had about, he was getting a complaint that we were actually taking too good a care of our streets. You know, that one didn't need to be overlaid. But we do invest a lot of time and energy into making sure that we look at the streets and the needs of all of the areas of the city. And not only that, we also want to maximize the dollars that we bring into the community, not just taking tax dollars and using them for those improvements. We've been able to leverage approximately $10 million worth of outside money from TechStop that has come in to match some of these projects that we're doing. Now, while that does sometimes cause us to take a little bit longer because the environmentals are a little more drawn out and things that have to be done, I's and T's that have to be crossed when there are state projects, we're still leveraging back a lot of that money that doesn't have to come out of our tax dollars. So this is Pecan and McCall, it's complete. Pecan and Second has been completed. And some of these are just, you can see here, there are intersection improvements that will help to bring more traffic through that intersection because we see you have delays because of the queues that back up. So these are simple improvements that can be done that can really help accommodate the flow of traffic. Another project that we did, Wisconsin from 2nd to 7th, that's been opened up. That was a partnership with a developer who was coming in with a housing subdivision. They were going to be doing their part of the street they had to do anyway, so we leveraged that and had them go ahead and build it, and we contributed a portion of what we were going to be spending of the overall amount that we had budgeted for that. We didn't have to come up with the full amount that we had originally anticipated, and we were able to get that beautiful new street in there. 29th Street from Oxford to 107 is another one where we're working. It's under design, about 95% complete. That one should be going out to bid. Right-of-way parcels are being acquired, and that's another thing. If you haven't ever tried to do right-of-way acquisition, that can be very tricky. You have, property owners that don't want to sell. You may have property owners that have trusts that are out of the area or in Mexico, and so that does take some time. But we have a wonderful right-of-way department, and they do a very good job of working with our residents in order to get a fair value for that property. This is one, and I don't have the finished product on here, but if you've been to the airport recently or to the mall recently, you know that Wichita Street from Main to 10th has been overlaid, and it's beautiful. It's much better than it was. And we also did an intersection improvement there to help with the bus radiuses so that when the buses are coming in, you don't have to shut down a lane, and so you can keep the traffic flowing through there very well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to another one of the assistant city managers who's in charge of all of the fun stuff. Joe, I'm going to drive.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Vetta. I'm one of the assistant city managers, and I have the opportunity to work with, as Michelle says, some of the fund departments in the city. And those fund departments include Parks and Recreation, the library, the most beautiful library in Texas, work with our Palmview Golf Course, which is also pretty amazing. Our Parks Department is second to none, and also get to work with Grants Administration and the McAllen Convention Center and New Performing Arts Center. And we also do special events. And one of the things that's very important to our city commission and staff is the quality of life for the people in McAllen. And so we're always working to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our community when it comes to quality of life. And sports tourism is something that we, of course, over the last couple of years have been working with the CPB and our sports commission to make sure that that we're looking at sports tourism, because we recognize the value of what it brings to McAllen and to any community. In the 15-16 year sports tourism generated some $6 million into the local economy, and that does not include the Games of Texas, and I'm sure that you all heard about the Games of Texas. So we have Pop Warner is going to host the 2016 Regional Championships in McAllen, and that's for the first time that they'll be in the Rio Grande Valley. It's a 2-day event. We have football and cheerleading competition, and we have teams from 6 states coming to McAllen as far away as Colorado. And that's something that we have been working on, and has been successful for the community. The CBB is also working with the Baseball Legends League, and we're working with them to make sure that they host all of their tournaments in McAllen. So we're really excited about what's going on with those leagues. The McAllen Sports Park, which is formerly the Leon Soccer Complex at 29th and Buddy Owens, I think many of y'all have probably been there and used it. The complex has 8 fields, 1 championship field. There's practice fields, lighted tennis courts, basketball court, playground area, a water feature and concession area. And again, that's one of the areas where we host a variety of state, regional, and international tournaments. Being so close to the border, we're able to attract players and teams from Mexico, including soccer, football, rugby, and ultimate frisbee. And numerous community and special events like the marathon, McAllen Marathon is also held there, even though this year we're moving that, for next year we're going to be moving that over to the convention center. But this was one of the primary sites for Games of Texas as well. The Games of Texas was a very successful event for Parks Department and for the community. It was something that really was 2 years in the making. We had teams from all over Texas that came to Games of Texas. We had visitors that participated, 7,313 visitors in different, or athletes in different competitions. We had games all over McAllen, plus we used the city of Edinburgh, had games in the city of Harlingen, and had games in Mission. So we really were able to spread the competition over the area, but the main focus, of course, was here in McAllen. The estimated income or economic impact for these visitors spent $6.8 million and local spending of $1,096,000 for a total economic impact of $7,974,000 in McAllen. These results come from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. They did an economic impact for us. And so for us to have that kind of an impact over a two-week period and to have that many people come to our community, and the best thing is that they were so impressed and surprised with what we had to offer here in McAllen that they're certainly looking forward to coming back next year. The new baseball complex, which is up here on 29th and Auburn, the first phase has 12 fields, and we have a capacity to expand to 16 fields. It's a total of 55 acres there. The project includes trails, concession areas. We have playground equipment areas, parking, lighting, meeting room for the teams that are going to be competing. We have ponds, and we also have a future miracle field that will be constructed there. This is a $10 million project for the city of McAllen, and construction on this project should be underway probably the first of the year. We had put this out to bid and had to reject the bids, and we've gone back out to bid, and so hopefully in November the City Commission will select a contractor, and then we'll be able to move forward with construction on this project. Our next project is the Madison Park. What we've basically done there is converted a drainage detention area to a mini park. It's a two-phase project. This project is one that Commissioner Pebley worked very closely with our Parks Department to make sure that we were able to do something in this area. Construction has already started, and the first phase includes the grading, installation of irrigation, hydro mulch, and installation of sidewalks along Trenton. The second phase to that project is going to be additional concrete sidewalks, landscaping, irrigation, fencing, shade structures, and sitting areas. The first phase of the project is $55,000. The second phase of the project is $60,000 for a total estimate of $115,000 that's going into this phase of the project. So these are the projects that we have. They're going on with parks. Of course, you know, the Performing Arts Center is under construction and will be opening up here in November. We'll be having a community day there on we've got a ribbon cutting on November 18th. And then November 19th, we have a community day for the community to be able to come in and see the project. And I know that, I don't know, Michelle, you're going to talk more about it? Roy's going to talk more about that. Thank you all very much. Yes, sir.
Real quick question.
Yes, sir.
Why was the bids on the baseball complex rejected?
I beg your pardon?
Why were the bids for the baseball complex rejected?
They were really overpriced for what the estimates should have been and what our architect was telling us. So the bid came in at over $13 million. We only had 2 bidders. And so we really believe from what our architects are telling us and what our staff has looked at, that project should be built for below $11 million. So we just could not see just wasting $2 million of taxpayers' dollars to do something like that. So we hope that with more time, we're going to have more bidders be able to bid on the project and be able to deliver a better project for the community. Thank you.
Real quick, before we turn it over to Roy on this next page, or the next phase of the presentation, I just wanted to talk about this Madison Park project real quick, because that project right there, that came up because I was contacted by a person who lives in that neighborhood about that detention area. That area it was under control of Public Works because it's a drainage area. And not a knock on Public Works, but they mow with shredders and not lawn mowers and weed eaters. And so they just have a little bit different level. So went out there, looked at it, and was able to visit with Roy and Michelle and Mike, and we were able to work out a plan where we would transfer that property from Public Works over to the Parks Department for them to provide maintenance. And then we were able to find monies within the budget and over different budget years to be able to come in, put the improvements in place. And then before we went out to bids and such, brought the neighborhood back in and showed them what we were proposing, get any feedback they had on it to see if it was meeting their desires, since they're the folks that live in the area and they're the ones that we want to be sure are using that amenity. In that public comment dialogue that we had, there was a teacher who lives in the area, but he teaches at Fossum. And he said, well, you know, it's great you're doing this, but there's no way for the kids who live in this neighborhood to be able to walk to Fossum on sidewalks. There's portions of the property, or the portions of the properties between 29th and Fossum are unimproved, so there's no sidewalks there. So when it rains, the kids have to get out in the street or they get their feet muddy if they're walking to school. And so during that process, that's where I visited with Michelle, since she's over planning and engineering, and she got with Evita and engineering and transit, and they've been able to come together and pull monies from different parts of the budget to try and take care of that issue. So if you go through there now, there's a big portion from Fossum East to 29th Street that has already been, the sidewalks have been put in. And then they're working on the next phase of it to get it all the way to 29th. And then it's eventually going to tie in to this sidewalk right there. So by the time it's all said and done, the kids that live in the Madison Park neighborhood are going to be able to walk on sidewalks all the way to Fossum and be safe. And then the kids that live in the other areas further to the west, they'll have the same sidewalk. So all of that came up because folks like you called me or sent me an email or brought something up to me and said, hey, we got an issue or we got a concern. So that's just an example of why these meetings are so important and so valuable to myself and the city as a whole. So just want to point that out. Roy?
Thank you, Trey. The only assistant city manager that's not going to present is Jeff Johnston. But I urge you to have questions for him. So I'm going to tell you what department he oversees so that if something in there, including Public Works, you can ask him. So Jeff is over Human Resources. I call him the tough department. Human Resources, Public Works, Risk Management, Civil Service, Information Technology, Benefits, and Health Administration, McAllen 311, Purchasing, Transit, and Downtown Services. So they keep busy. The next little area that we want to talk about are what we call special projects and special developments in the city of McAllen. I think what you've been hearing lately is that the City Commission is focused on special kinds of projects. We live in a world that cities have to compete with each other to bring in quality of life venues. That's just the way it is. We're very lucky that we have the financial wherewithal to provide the quality of life that you've heard already, which is the parks, the fields, baseball, softball, and all the things that this community, that the citizens here, that you demand and that we've been accustomed to. But on the other side of quality of life is your shopping and dining and those kinds of things, entertainment. In that element of the city, we have to compete for them. And it's the world that we live in. If you don't want them, then you don't compete for them. And what it means is you have to incentivize these projects. And so what the City Commission is really honed down to is, okay, how do we make ourselves different than anyone else? Because McAllen is the jewel of the Rio Grande Valley. And what they determine is we want to help bring first-to-market projects. And you're going to keep hearing that over and over. You've heard that in the last few years, and what I'm going to show you is that they're not only are they committed to it, but they're delivering on it. First-to-market projects. That means that the things that we're trying to bring to McAllen, you're not going to find in the Rio Grande Valley. Not only Hidalgo County, but in the Rio Grande Valley. So this is the Civic Center site redevelopment, and this is a very special corner to all of us. McAllen is 10th Street, for a long, long time. For those of you that grew up here, you know how important 10th Street has been. And of course the expressway. Developers have told us that they call this corner the corner of Main and Main. And so when the City Commission decided to build a new convention center and performing arts center, the decision was also made that we're going to demolish, which you've read about also, the existing Civic Center and create a new venue. And so this is very important to the City Commission and the city staff. So what we're going to bring is a development that's going to be a mixed use, that's going to have walkability, that you're going to be able to get out of your car and walk the entire area and feel good about the environment. There's going to be a lot of landscaping, a lot of walking opportunities, a lot of shopping and dining that will be exposed to the outside. There's going to be a lot of glass. And while this is just a rendering, we still don't know exactly what's going in there. It's going to be pleasing to the eye. And we're committed to bringing new things to McAllen. Next one. Some of the things that we're doing elsewhere are near the convention center. Shops at 29th is a private development. All of this is done with private money, non-taxpayer dollars, except for one, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Go back. So you've got Ross, Burlington, Freddy's, what do they call that? Custard. Can't wait till they open that. That's a really, really cool place if you've never been to one. Ulta, Bubba's, Burlington, so on. And some of the folks that I've talked to, they're like, really, kind of Burlington again? Burlington does so much sales. It's one of the highest grossing sales per square foot anywhere, especially in the Rio Grande Valley. I'm going to give you, I hope this is not confidential anymore. But, okay, I tell you what, I'm not going to give you a number. I'm going to give you a percent, just so I don't get in trouble. So when Burlington opened about a month ago, they had an estimate of what they were going to do the first week, because they marketed throughout their network of Burlington itself, and then marketed here in the Valley. And they estimated that they were going to make X amount of dollars that weekend, okay? It turned out that it was about 7 to 8 times that amount of money on the weekend. And I don't know if you all went by there. I did, because I remember driving by there with my wife and saying, look at all of these cars. And so they're doing very, very well. We're very happy for them. The next slide, we're going to talk about Dave & Buster's. You read about Dave & Buster's. You know, Dave & Buster's is one of those entertainment venues that's really special, that brings in a lot of people. We had to justify and defend what we did, and we have to do it every day. We owe you that. It's your taxpayer dollars that went into helping to bring it here. And what we tell people is Dave & Buster's is the kind of place, and this is scientific, we know this when we went after them, is that people will drive 2 counties away to go to Dave & Buster's. So people will come on the other side of Starr County, they'll come from Zapata County, statistically, they'll come from Willacy and of course Cameron to go to a place like this. And so when we decided that this was a venue that we wanted, I mean, we literally went after them. And so we made a deal, which you all read about, and it was a deal that was good for everyone. Certainly it was good for Dave & Buster's. It was good for the developer because he was able to anchor that where we're putting it there on 29th. And it was good for the city. So when we put a deal together, an incentive package, it takes a lot of effort. Not only to convince them to come to McAllen, but it takes a lot of effort to ensure that we're doing the math so that we're not out your money. Okay? Everything that we do has a return. And in fact, the contract that we did with Dave & Buster's is an open record. You can have a copy of it and go through it yourself. What we did was this. It was very simple. Dave & Buster's is a publicly traded company. And so every store that they have across America has to publish their revenue and expenses. And so we went and looked at their revenues, and we took the median, the average sales of all of the Dave & Buster's across America, and we said that's our target. And so if this store in McAllen hits that target, we will not only make up the money that we're putting in it as an incentive, but we will make approximately $3 million through the life of the first term of the lease, which is 15 years. And so you're able to see that, and you can see the math. And so that's how we came about that deal. We had a lot of questions about, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And so on. But are the numbers perfect? No. Are they going to be exactly the way we calculated them? Of course not. But we have a platform, and we use that platform to determine what we were able to do, what we were willing to do, and what return we were going to get for it. So obviously there's a big focus around the convention center to ensure that we continue to improve really one of our jewels. And what you've also heard from the City Commission is that we need to continue to improve the quality of life in McAllen, and we need to help ensure that we have alternative revenues. One of the very simple alternative revenues is sales tax. Statistically, we can prove that over 30% of all of the sales tax revenue that comes from the city of McAllen comes from Mexico. Okay? That's a fact. In fact, it's close to 35%. It's a little slower right now, but it'll come back. So if you're getting 30 to 35% of all sales tax revenue from another country, that means that we're able to make improvements in your city with somebody else's money. That's the bottom line. So that's the thinking around ensuring that we have these kinds of tools. And so what the commission has said is, not only do we need to improve the quality of life, but we need to ensure that those folks keep coming, whether they're from Cameron or Willacy or Pharr or Edinburgh or Zapata or whatever, so that they come spend money here in order for us to have infrastructure money to continue to do improvements. And this is one of the most important areas of town. In order for us to be a destination city, you've got to have a lot of things. We call it kind of like you can call it a puzzle, or you can call it a mosaic. Mosaic sounds much more cool, right? So you got to have good transportation, you got to have a good airport, you have to have good quality of life, and you have to have entertainment in order for those things to happen. So this is one of the areas that entertainment is very important to us. 3 years ago, we had 0 hotels around the convention center. And the city commission made it very, very clear that they wanted to spend a lot of energy and a lot of time to ensure that that changed. We have 4 hotels on site right now. We're very, very proud of that. I can't tell you how proud we are. 2 of them are open, 2 of them are under construction, and a 5th one is very close to breaking ground. Once we do that, we're done with hotels. We think that we have the rooms that we need to make the convention center the place that it needs to be, and it won't be without those rooms. So we have La Quinta, we have Embassy Suites, both have been open, and as you travel through there, there's cars there galore. The 2 that will open soon is Cambria, which is a pretty special project that I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, and Home 2 Suites. Home 2 Suites is being built by the same owner as Embassy Suites. When he broke ground, he spoke to the staff and I and said, you know what, let me tell you how excited I am about building a hotel in the convention center. I want to build another one. He hadn't even put one, shovel of dirt in there, and he was talking about a second one, and there it is. And we're hoping that it's going to be open by December, January timeframe. The Cambria Suites is a special project in that it's an EB5 project. You might have heard about that. We also are the owners of a regional center. An EB5 basically is a pathway to citizenship for foreign investors. And it's a little complicated, but basically what it is the federal government allows foreign investors, whether it's Mexico or China or wherever else, that are approved through the federal government as investors for a project to invest a minimum of $500,000, create a minimum of a certain number of jobs, and then get a visa to become possibly a citizen of the United States. That's the federal government, and that's our first project as an EB5. The Performing Arts Center, that was part of the bond issue that the citizens approved back in 2013. We had done a lot of work very, very quickly as soon as that bond issue passed, and that's why we were able to get ahead of this thing. It's almost finished. It's an incredible, incredible facility. In fact, we're going to announce maybe as early as this week that November the 18th is going to be the formal ribbon cutting of this, and then that weekend we're going to have some festivities to invite the public to see what you have, because it's your building. And what we're trying to do here is real simple. Many of you here, I hope, have been fortunate enough to attend a Broadway somewhere, whether it's New York City, which is the most common, right, the most famous, but they have them in Chicago, and they have them in Houston, and they have them in San Antonio. For those of you that are fortunate enough to have done that, that's great. But we have many in the community that will never go to New York City. And so what we said is, what do we do to bring it here? And that's basically what we've done. This is a state-of-the-art facility. I mean, when you see this building, you're going to be in awe. It is, by all stretches of the imagination, a Broadway performing arts center, but just the magnificence of the building is going to be very, very impressive. And what we're trying to do is bring enough shows so that we can have volume of sales so that the average citizen here will enjoy this incredible facility. We like controversy, so we wanted to talk to you about Simon Mall. We talked a little bit about the fact that sales tax is very important to McAllen, right? 35% of all sales tax revenue. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You talked about sales tax, right? Now, our visitors from Mexico that turn in their manifestos and we get their sales tax return. That is a loss for us.
Correct. But that 35% number that I'm talking about, that's net. That's after they do their manifesto. So It would be more, except that they do that. So the number of people that do that, in fact, is pretty small compared to all of the shopping that goes on for Mexican nationals. So the number that I've given you of over 30% is net. That's after the manufacturing. Okay?
Too bad, should be more.
I know, I agree with you.
City
Quietly,
pockets, it should be more.
we're gonna try to change that, but our friends to the south don't want us to. So Simon, La Plaza Mall, so we talked about how much money comes from Mexico. Well, of all of the sales tax revenue that we get in the city of McAllen, which by the way is #1 sales tax revenue per capita in America, okay? So that's how much sales go on in this city. And a lot of it comes from folks from outside of McAllen. Well, out of all of those dollars, about 15% come from La Plaza Mall. That's a big, big number. And so we know that La Plaza Mall is a big deal to us. And so we've been asked, why would you provide money to the richest guy in town? Well, that's a fair question, and we owe you that answer. And so again, you know, we took a model that we use, that we always say, we want to net X amount of dollars for any deal that we make. And what that means is, we predetermine what we want to come back to us. So in the case of La Plaza Mall, we decided that first, La Plaza Mall is going to have to perform. Second, you're going to have to fit our model, and that is that you're going to bring stores that are first to the market. In fact, of the approximately 49 to 50 total new stores going into La Plaza Mall, about 45 of them are new to the market. It would have taken us 10 years, 20 years to possibly get those 45 new to market stores in McAllen if we went and tried to get one at a time. So this monster called La Plaza Mall helped us accomplish that. And so we're providing them an incentive, and the incentive is very simple. We're building the parking garages for La Plaza Mall. But in order for us to pay, and the question I've been asked is, so you're going to pay for La Plaza Mall? The city of McAllen is going to pay for La Plaza Mall parking lot? And my answer is, I hope so. Because I don't know if we are or not. Because in order for us to pay for the garages, because there's 2 of them, McAllen has to make money. So within the very complicated agreement that we have with them, which is open record and you can have a copy of, we said 50% of incremental sales, and our baseline was 2015. We took the sales of 2015 and said, any increase to those sales moving forward, half of that increase in sales tax revenue is going to the city of McAllen. Okay? Incremental. So first of all, they have to meet the threshold, then they got to make more. Half of that more goes to McAllen, and the other half goes to pay for the garage. And therefore, if there isn't enough money in that second half to pay for the garage, they pay for it. And we don't. So the way I explained it to a good friend of mine that was questioning me, I said, look, let's talk about worst case scenario. Let's say that this is a total bust and that they don't make a nickel more than they made in 2015. Guess who pays for that garage entirely? Simon Properties, not the city of McAllen. We think that's a very good deal. We're providing a couple of thousand new parking spaces for La Plaza Mall, which they desperately need, and we will only pay for it if we make money. Yes, sir.
Are you going to have enough policemen for all the facilities we're talking about?
Policemen?
Are you going to have enough police? Because you're going to need a lot of security for all these things, for us to go there and peace.
Absolutely. Well, we have one of the best, the police department is here, we have one of the best ratios in Texas when it comes to police department per 1,000 population. The city of McAllen traditionally has tried to be at a minimum of 2 police officers per 1,000, which is very, very high nationwide. We're one of the best in Texas. And so we don't believe that we're going to ever change that. In fact, we added 4 more police officers this fiscal year and added 4 2 years ago. And so that's ongoing. We added 4 firefighters this coming year. So the city commission is very committed to public safety. Public safety takes over 50% of our entire general fund. Okay? So when we take our entire general fund, which means all of the sales tax and all of your property tax, half of it go to fire and police. You live in a very safe city. So these are, back up, these are renderings of what it's going to look like on the inside. They're redoing their floors. I'm not a mall guy, okay? My daughter is, and my wife is. No, my wife isn't that, but my daughter is. I go in, I know that I'm going to buy 3 shirts and a pair of pants, and I'm out of there, and I know exactly where I'm going. But for those of you that do, you're going to have a totally different experience. I mean, they're redoing the entire floor of the whole mall. They're doing changes to a lot of their finishes inside the mall. And then, have you all seen what's going on the north end of the mall, where they took out Sears? It's huge. It's huge, and it's all new stores, and they're going to anchor the front with 4 restaurants that you'll have an option of inside or open air. Hopefully in November, December, January, it will be nice weather to have open air. But it's going to be a really special place. And you know what? You deserve that, because I think that, I don't think, La Plaza Mall has admitted that this has been a long time coming, that they needed to improve what La Plaza Mall looked like, and I think that's what you're going to get.
Thank you, Roy, and Michelle, and Joe, and Jeff. You got off the hook this year. So, just want to open it up. I know we've thrown a lot at you in a short period of time, and that's the good thing about these folks is they live this every single day, and they do a great job. And I really appreciate what they do for the commission, for the city, and the citizens as a whole, and all of our visitors. So, if anybody has any questions, any comments, suggestions, please. I mean, it's open floor, whatever y'all want to talk about. Yes, sir.
Okay. Bicentennial, second, you know how nice you fix the streets, sidewalks, you put palm trees, you put benches. Do we qualify for the same thing right here on the arts area? We don't qualify.
It's putting in a park trail, lateral trail system.
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is yes. I mean, the answer is yes.
I'll tell you what my concern is.
Sure.
You have all these children that come to the school. They're young children, they're not, 14, 15. And they they go down into the ditch and they jump to come to school.
Yeah.
And I know they're coming to school because they have a backpack.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter time when these young kids are falling apart.
Yes, sir. Well, let's talk about the 2 trails, and then we'll talk about the possibilities. Second and Bicentennial are, we're just very lucky, okay? Because Second and Bicentennial run along 2 irrigation district canals. And so one is district number 1, and one is district number 3. And so when you have those irrigation districts, you have anywhere between 100 and 300 feet of right-of-way that's basically unused and unusable. You can't build on it, you can't do a lot of things. And so the city of McAllen a long time ago realized that they had something that they could tap into for trails, make it very, very safe because you're away from traffic, you have open area, and it's very minimal cost. And so that's what they did. And that's really the secret on Second and Bicentennial, is because we're running along right-of-way that's on irrigation district. It obviously becomes a little more difficult when the right-of-way becomes restricted. And so that's why you don't see them in a lot of other places. We're going to do another one on Pecan. Perfect example, from Pecan on Benson.
Road.
North of Pecan, we're going to go from Pecan to 3 Mile Line at a minimum, because we're following an irrigation canal. And so it makes it easy. We don't have to buy right away. It's safe because it's open. But let us look at it. Let us look at it.
Can we buy some property across the street, build a park for the kids?
Let us look at it.
Swimming pool, something. I mean, I see all these children out there in the summer.
Sure. Absolutely. We'll look at it, yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Mark.
Okay.
We have an office that says keep McAllen beautiful. Okay, I request that one of our city commissioners or anybody drive down Benson Road. We have sidewalks on each side. You cannot walk because they're completely not completely, but I can say it's 3/4 overgrown. Very insecure. If I would walk and I would fall, I would succeed. We're not keeping up those sidewalks that we have. You spend a lot of money putting those in. And the property owners, I don't know who's supposed to take care of those. If there's a property owner, they should keep it etched so it's a safe way of walking.
Yes,
Can you tell us
ma'am.
the area, the extent of Benson between where and where we're talking about?
It's mostly, I think, from 495 down to the expressway.
Okay, so Pecan South to the
It's a little
expressway.
neglected area, but not many people live
Okay.
there. It's field like park. It should be taken care of. The owners don't want to take care of it. We should put a lien on their property and the city do it.
Well, that's something, ma'am, that we did address somewhat in our last budget cycle. We have changed the amount of money that the city now charges people who aren't mowing their lawns or aren't taking care of their property. Before, the rate was very, very nominal, and so we've increased that to try and penalize the person for not keeping up their property. And I'll tell you one other thing too, ma'am, and Avita's back behind you taking notes here, so it's not going on deaf ears. But the other day, I got with Michelle and Josh Ramirez, who is in charge of code enforcement, and I had questions in regards to Benson Road, because I drive Benson Road all the time myself, from the expressway all the way
I
to
frequently drive Railroad or Benson Road. Now on Railroad, across the street from our beautiful convention center, we have a piece of property. Now the city keeps theirs clean. That's always known and edge. But there is a piece of property right across the Simon properties.
yes.
Okay, that's on market. And I mostly drive Railroad for work. Now, Mr. Johnson, I have to say that his sign is there, he's selling that property. I called him a few months ago because the grass is that high and all dry. Now, that is not good with our beautiful conventions and across the street and all that mess on the other side of Railroad, no.
Yes.
You don't see it anywhere else, you don't see it there. I mean, it's just, it makes me angry when I see that.
Yes.
Anyhow, I called Mr. Johnson. You know what he told me? He said, it's none of your business.
That's why he doesn't work for the city.
I called the city and I spoke to one of our great commissioners. A few days later, that was taken care of. And now we have to stay in Park 23.
Yeah.
That's that high. And that does not make a good impression for our people that use the convention center for shopping.
No, and that's a good point, and that's something that, I've got Michelle and Josh, and we drove around, because I had questions. And it's, unfortunately, when government gets involved, at whatever level of government, it can get really confusing and complicated sometimes. And so Michelle and Josh were educating me on it, but once they got involved, I've noticed things have been happening and things have been cleaning up. Property owners have been notified. And so all I can ask is that, everybody in here, y'all see something like that? The mayor has said it more than once. If you have the McAllen 311 app, please use it. That is the best way to get that information in. If you don't have that app, please pick up the phone and call City Hall, call the commissioner. We'll work, because y'all are our eyes and ears. Y'all see things that we don't see, or we drive by it and maybe we don't pick up on it. So please bring stuff forward. Yes, sir.
Trey, we have the 311 app. I live here on 24th Street.
Uh-huh.
My house is open property between 24th Street and the Exxon, and a plaza there.
Okay.
the Bramble and Leaf Company owns that strip of land, which is dead property that's being used for right now. There are several trees along that property line that's adjacent to several homeowners' fences and backyards. One tree was actually on the edge of our fence, growing into our property. I put it on the app, didn't get a response. Went downtown, spoke to somebody for the court. Got a lot of red tape. We can do. I was looking at the easement. If there were any easement laws that would prohibit a tree from being standing that close to somebody else's property, which was just right up against our fence. Ended up having to chop it down myself and construct a new fence.
Okay.
And so I'm not the only one. There's several homeowners that have the same scenario going on. Whether there's a dead tree or there's just useless trees butted up against their back fence, and eventually they're going to break. So it was basically open the fence completely.
Okay.
So we'll break it down. So what's the measure that we can take to ensure that those trees be cut down by the property owner when they're doing destruction to our actual property on our side?
I think you've taken the very first important step. We're going to be getting with you
Yeah.
afterwards to get the exact location, and we'll get it.
Privately, get your name and phone number,
Yeah.
and because we want to understand the issue, and we'll call you directly.
Ma'am?
How about the property owners in the subdivisions where they're not maintaining their lawn inside the fence?
Same
Hi.
thing.
Yeah.
Big problem. It's a big problem, because we've already called myself, several of the officers there, at the subdivision have called, and they can tell us that there's nothing they can do when it's inside the fence, but it's becoming a problem.
I visited that point, well, I was at y'all's Neighborhood Association Festival on Saturday, and that was brought up to me, and Saturday evening. And so had an ordinance review meeting yesterday, and I visited with Michelle and a couple of the city attorneys in regards to that, plus swimming pools that aren't being maintained. And so they were going to look into some different things that we could possibly do. The swimming pools, that's a big issue all over the city, it seems like, and it's a real nuisance factor. And I hadn't heard about lawns not being maintained in the back until I visited with y'all on Saturday. And so they were going to look into that. There's some things that you, once again, when you bring the attorneys in, it gets complicated. But supposedly you have to be able to see it from, but there's ways I think we can work around it and work with y'all and try and get it resolved. So that's something that's brought up, and I don't know, Michelle, if you want to speak to that a little bit more in the details.
We do also have Aaron here this evening. He's from Code Enforcement. And we've got a lot of protections for private property in Texas and everywhere. As you know, you want to have some protection for your private property. You want to be able to do certain things in your yard that other people can't tell you, this is how you can use your backyard. And so there are certain protections that say, okay, we can't go and look over your fence, we can't stand on a truck to see what's in your backyard. If it is, creating a health hazard, that's our kind of our catch-all, our nuisance. If there are rodents and possums and things like that can reasonably be said they're going to be harbored there, it's called vermin harborage, then we can use some certain other things. We can get court orders, but again, these things do take time. And even just getting the grass mowed. If we see is it 12 inches or 18, Aaron? 12. Okay, if it's 12 inches in height, we have to wait until it's 12 inches in height before we can tell them you have to mow.
This is above the fence.
Okay, if you can see it above the fence, then we should be able to get in there with a health.
Yeah, give us an
warning.
address.
Yeah, and I'll get
Give
you
us
your
an
address.
Okay.
But
It's above
those
the
are
fence.
things. Certainly.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Yes, I bought a property over there in Manningham. You are the commissioner there, right?
Yes, sir.
I was the one where you looked a month ago. I went over there.
Oh, okay, you went to the office there on Ware Road?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was I office out of
But,
in Elsa. No, and I didn't have your name or number, so I couldn't get back with
I
you.
asked, who's my commissioner?
Yes, sir.
He says, he lives over there in Elsa.
No, I don't live in Elsa. I live right down the road here on Lark between.
I want to talk to you about, you know, my area.
Okay.
You know, you're my commissioner.
Okay.
And the street, you know, since 95, when I bought my home, never been paid or blacked up, I don't know how you call it. And on this side from Girl Road to 029, been already, I think 3 times already during since 95 up to date. They already fixed this street here, but I don't know what the privilege these guys have and over there.
What street are you on, sir?
Nightingale,
Nightingale. Okay.
What block?
3813 Nightingale,
30?
3813 out of Girl Road.
Okay.
Okay.
And we never seen the sweeper either. I saw the sweeper around this area so many times, you know. But we are the forgotten people on the other side.
Okay.
I'll go check it
And
out.
that is another question. I think you are the one keep going up and up and up and up and up.
No.
We try to compare ourselves with Chicago and Houston. Hey, they make a lot of money over there. We don't make money here in Hawaii. You know, I think you people or Chamber of Commerce is against to increase the minimum pay or whatever.
No, we
And now
haven't
we
raised,
got
we
this
haven't,
deal of Proposition 1, you know, and now they want to make us pay too. That's
well,
terrible.
Proposition 1 is
Yeah, I mean,
county.
that is whatever it is, but you will go, taxes will go up.
We've only raised taxes once in the last 10 years.
Well, I start paying very little and now almost 3,000.
Well, yeah, but that's an overall tax.
Yeah,
The
that's
city
what
of
I'm
Mac-
talking about, all over tax.
The city of McAllen has raised it one.
little by little. I just throw the whole thing away.
We raised it once in the bond election, and that was a bond election, so the
And also
citizens.
the water is almost like paying for electricity. You see, that's keep going up and up and up.
We'll go pave the street.
Then I read the paper saying we pay 10% more than the counties over there in Houston and San Antonio and
Okay.
around that area, and we don't need that much money around this area.
Okay. I'll be right. Yes, sir.
In your slide presentation, you did a good job of discussing developments within the city of McAllen, the city limits that are possibly growth rate for the future. I have a question about other regional activity with their impact would be on McAllen. I'm thinking specifically of the LNG export terminal for the ground up into the LNG in the permitting process. And there's a SpaceX, that's a local thing. Then there's that iconic casting foundry is somewhere in Canada. Do those have any positive impact on the town or is it far away?
Well, on the LNG, the city of McAllen is not taking a position on that project at all. We remain neutral. We have supported SpaceX. We believe, the city commission believes that SpaceX has a lot of potential for the region, for jobs, for growth, and so on. So we have supported SpaceX. LNG, we have not. We remain neutral.
Yeah, what about that iconic?
The casting.
Oh,
The foundry
So
now.
somewhere in Canada.
Right. That's actually a pretty small project, all things being considered, but we've taken a neutral position on that also.
I just thought maybe they were too far away to have much of an economic, and then other than maybe having some time with the college and training people.
Could be. I don't know.
And there could be some spin-off businesses that come up off that as well. Hold on, we got this lay right. I'm just trying to get to the folks that haven't asked questions yet. Make sure. Yes,
You
ma'am.
also mentioned District 2 issue, if
Bill Shoe Park quite often. And I noticed that during the summer, it was really being mowed often. There's playground equipment with caution tape that's been around it for months. That Sunken area that was built, I guess, 6, 7, 8 years ago, is like there's graffiti on it occasionally. It's like not really being utilized. I know I think it's great that Stephen County is investing so much in new parks. But what can be done for Bill Shoot? I mean, I think it's a jewel of the Stephen County, and I'm hoping that this weekend.
The graffiti's still on there?
No, I saw that it's in being drawn.
Okay.
But that's one.
Yeah, we've actually gotten calls on Bill Shoot. Mainly it was grass that hadn't been mowed. And believe it or not, that was a self-inflicted wound on our part. We were convinced not to water on the times that we believed we should water, which was at early morning hours. And the runners there and walkers complained, and we stopped watering, so we went from weeds to too dry. So we put the message out that, look, we're going to have a watering schedule to maintain the green turf, and that's just the way it is. So either run outside of that or get wet. But we were really losing a lot of turf. On the other, I'll let Joe talk about it a little bit, but we definitely want to keep Bill Shoot up to par.
It's one of the oldest parks in McAllen.
Yes.
Sure, and it is a very important part, and our parks crew stays on it all the time. And I'd like Mike Hernandez, our parks director, to go ahead and address that, and then I can follow up if we need be. So,
one of the issues with the caution tape of the playground, there was an accident, and it's probably been about 6 weeks. Any of the equipment that's installed there, it is one of our older parks, is no longer fabricated. So basically, they're having to custom make. We can't replace the entire structure, but we're having the manufacturer go ahead and fabricate something so that we can adapt it to that playground. Unfortunately, the turnaround that they gave us was 9 to 12 weeks. We don't want to eliminate that structure, obviously, because a lot of people have enjoyed it. It's just taken a long time to be able to get it back. And we do have a lot of mischief. We have tagging. We have sometimes people go on ATVs and play in the turf since it's open space. We do the best we can to stay on top of it. Any concerns, we welcome calls, 681-3333 or on the 311. But our staff has been, we said this is one of our jewels. We have so many runners there, and we do get that concern. It's wet, it's too wet or it's too dry. But we want to make sure, we've been lucky, Mother Nature has given us some decent rains. So we try and reduce the watering schedule just a bit, but we need to keep the turf going. We're working on a project to plant some more trees and obviously some more plants in the cemetery. It's a beautiful place, but it takes a lot of maintenance, and we're trying to make sure we upkeep it on a regular basis.
and if you have any other concerns, you can call me on my cell number, 393-8546.
Frank Garza, I live here in Parkland neighborhood. Thank you for going on.
Thank you for inviting me.
I know we've exchanged some emails, and I know I've talked to Mike and thank you, which I know in his busy days. I appreciate that, Mike. But I have some concerns with the softball complex, and I know in talking to some of the other people, softball coaches and stuff that live in McAllen, and I think a lot of it maybe because I don't know, and I hope it's that, but some of the concerns that I have is I know that we talked about baseball. You know, of course we want to get that done. But the other concerns have been, you know, if I've heard two things, you know, we got a designer, a professional designer for baseball, but we did it for softball. Why? You know, that to me is an imbalance for our business. I haven't seen the design for softball other than the one that came out originally. I've been involved with softball and baseball the last 10 years in McAllen. Over at Tamarack, if we're going to park at McAllen High School or McAllen Stadium, our little girls have to cross the street. So there's a lot of design issues that haven't really been made out to the public. And of course, partially it's my fault, you know, and I can always stop by, I go through Mike's office every day. But I think those are concerns that we really need to address because, you know, I've been at that park for the last 2 years. You know, I've talked to Brian Lewis, one of the big contributors to that. He can echo those sentiments. You know, do we make a drive into Municipal Park as part of the design? Do we get a higher professional designer to do that? I mean, where are we with this? It's been 3 years. We advocated years ago to bring this to fruition. When these are my neighbors, and they can tell you I knocked on their doors to pass this thing for softball and baseball. It's something we need for our kids. But I think that with that said, without having to be a micromanaging citizen, that I have issues in the sense that, I have a lot of questions. And some have been within emails that I've exchanged with you is the distance of the fencing. Because once you build it, if we went for a bond for youth softball park, and you build it, and it's not a youth softball park, people will notice. And I'm afraid that in the future, we want to do something different for another, you know how that goes, it can affect it. So on my end, it's more of a comment, not necessarily that, we want to make sure that the same enthusiasm going into baseball is going into our kids for softball. Because I know with the softball complex, it's going to be over at Municipal Park. And a lot of times, you go in there and remodel and you redesign and things like that. Sometimes that may not sit well with people because baseball, the boys are getting a brand new park and the girls are getting a remodeled park. But I just want to reiterate that we need to really strengthen the fact that, yes, it may be getting a remodeled park, but is everything going to be scraped off and we get a new concession stands? Are we getting new dugouts? Are we getting new pitching lanes? Is our fence distance regulation? Or is it, and I know I've discussed that with Mike, but I think from the management part, from the city on up, it's really important and critical that the citizens, because we're looking forward to the baseball park. We're looking forward to the softball park. We're looking forward to the fine arts center. But we entrust in you all that hey, we support you. And like I said, a lot of times I may not know I'm not in the know for every little detail, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that we continue that open dialogue and we continue that as far as the softball complex for our kids and any future venues that we as citizens can support the city. We're always willing to do that.
No, and you bring up a good point, and after visiting with you some more on Saturday, I understand now why you're so passionate, so knowledgeable about softball after your daughter playing at Our Lady of the Lake and going off and representing McAllen in the collegiate level and such, and so that just shows we've got talent coming out of here and going on and coming back and doing trainings and such. And so we turned over to Mike. He give you the latest and greatest on where we're at.
As we've discussed several times, but that way for the information of everybody who's here, when we went to a bond for improvements for girls softball, which would be Municipal Park, part of it was, okay, we don't have an area that girls can play softball. We have one field out at on Sarah at Los Encinos. What are we doing once we move youth baseball to 5 Mile and 29th? We have 4 fields. We need at least 2 more to be able to attract tournaments. So part of what we said, let's invest in what we already have and make improvements. I understand the bathrooms there are older than Bill Shute. They've been there for a long time. We want to completely redo the bathrooms, completely redo the concession stand. Parking is a concern, as you mentioned. We don't have the space to park possibly more than 20 or 30 cars if we were to then take away from the park and add additional parking. We already invested over $1 million in shade structure and lights. As you know, we have state-of-the-art lights at Municipal Park. We wanted to gut what is there and redesign and completely have fields that are accessible and not just for girls fast pitch, but anything else that comes our way. Just like we discussed earlier, the youth baseball fields, if you want to host a tournament and you bring in teams to where you say we need 12 fields, then by all means we want to be able to take that tournament to the new fields and not limit that to just youth baseball. So we're working, and it might be, it's nothing can happen because we can't move within that facility until baseball has been placed in the new facility. We're working on the design. I invite you, like I have many times before, come join us. We can mark things up and we can work to make sure that it's what the group obviously is looking forward to. And what we know from our experience and you know from yours is going to be benefiting the community entirely.
Just a second. Yes, sir.
This ties in with Mr. Barrett's question about the girls' softball contest. What's the future of the fourth field at Western Park?
For now, obviously softball is huge. We have over 60 teams that are playing in our leagues. We have men's, we have co-ed, and we're also playing at Cascade. We have one field that we use for co-ed, and we use one field at municipal ball fields.
Because he used to host ASA Western National in four fields.
We cannot compete with other cities.
Well, I know, but he used to have like a nice, see one of the people that would help with the activities there, and you have those 8 girls. You're not 30 teams there, and you've got that, and it's more from sun up
To 3 in the morning.
yeah. And then that, I know, I was thinking more good, like the larger.
Exactly.
Traction, yeah, but I was wondering, with all we're doing, that youth baseball fields and the municipal park, it's, and then, we're still gonna keep the Westside Park, or,
Oh, yes, we're still keeping it. Part of it is to be able to utilize the fields that we have for any sport or any tournament that wants to come to the calendar, or that we entice to come to the calendar.
Is there any way to expand the Westside Park and that field in there?
Not with the current space, but what we're hoping to do is say, okay, we can work with the school district, we can work with the fields at municipal, and be able to have at least 1 or 2 fields. Instead of offering only 4, we can offer 6. And that's what most tournament organizers are looking for. They don't want 1 field, which is 4 fields. They want 6, they want 8 or 10.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have another question too. Are there any plans on renovating this park here? And then also the water park, I've been calling for over a week this in June. I was there every day with my nieces, and that rubber holding was messing with the kids' land on the slide. Certain areas of that slide thing that you all have, the play area. I called for a week and never got any return calls from the city of McAllen, and a certain individual never called me back. So then the one that was recommended, I called the 311 app. So I did that, and they did respond right away, and they did go and patch it up. My concern is, are there any plans of putting those canopies things on top of the slides are very hot?
Oh, like a shade structure?
Those shading things,
Okay.
the slides are very hot, and I heard a lot of things about the parents where the kids were coming off and they were coming down with burns on their
Burns.
legs. Yes, so
Okay.
it is a concern.
We don't have any plans on paper right now. Obviously, that's something as a concern that you're bringing up, that we look at, okay, what do we do with the summer heat as bad as it gets? We want to make sure we have shade structures, but when we have a water park and a playground, we need to look at fall zones. We need to make sure there's too heavy traffic, features too close to each other. We can offer a shade structure that really protects the morning, but what we need to protect is the afternoon. The afternoon sun is usually the hottest. But that's something we can look at and work with our engineering department and some of our members to see what we can find, and obviously funds to be able to get that
park
done.
next
How
door.
about the park right here?
That we need to look at. I'd say we have about 10 parks that we have on the list for just not totally renovating, but we've done some of the structures. We want to improve the landscaping. We want to improve what's there. It's just a matter of getting it on the list, getting the design, and finding the funds to make it happen.
Yes, sir. Sorry, you're very, very patient. Thank you, thank you.
I got 3 of them.
Okay, well, just do them all at one time, so we don't skip you here.
I heard one time about a neighbor who's planting papaya trees and squash in front of his house on his lawn. I heard this is not an ordinance on that. So that means anybody can plant whatever they want in front of their homes?
It's on the sidewalk area. It's on the sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Towards the mailbox.
Okay. Michelle, I'll let you tackle that one.
They're putting it in, but it's creating a barrier on the
You go
sidewalk.
across the sidewalk and it's right there.
It's right there.
If it's blocking sidewalks or it's creating a hazard there on the sidewalk, we can take care of that. If it's in their front
If you
yard,
go down 25th and walk right here, you won't miss it. It's on the right hand side. Another thing.
Your neighbor's not here tonight, I take it.
If he is, it's tough. It looks bad.
Okay.
It looks bad.
Okay.
We all know about it.
It's
Okay.
right on 25th and J, on the west side of the street.
Okay.
Okay, another thing, when we take the trash out, they said the second week of the month, on Tuesday, when we take our trash out.
You're talking about brush. Brush, okay.
I'm getting it.
Okay.
And since I've been on the coffee side, and people like to make U-turns there, I don't know why they like to make U-turns there. And if I got the bag there, they rip them, and it's spread all over the place. Then the neighbors that I got to the north of me, I don't know why, but they always seem to bring the brush out right after they leave. And then it sits there for a month, and it starts to dry, where's it in there? My driveway, my lawn, it makes a mess.
Okay.
Then when I take brushes to the DPW, okay, why don't they put those what's they call them, bins close to us? We have to drive all over the place to get rid of what we want to get rid of. And I told the gentleman there the other day, I said, okay, if I get a flat tire, you're going to pay for my $400 tire? I said, come on, help me out. We're bringing it over here. Trying to help us out.
Maybe it is.
Recycling center?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on improving the whole signage and the whole aesthetics of Public Works. And we're actually building some drop-off locations, so where instead of pulling and throwing over, you'll be able to just back up into your truck and then you just dump it down. So it's still in the works.
I tell you, young ladies that are working in our office, if they were more friendly with the local community.
Oh my goodness. Most definitely will address that, yes.
I have one, maybe a question.
Go ahead, did we get all three?
One for the police officers.
Okay, go ahead.
I need to ask them one question.
Okay. Here,
You
there.
have to pay your ticket.
I never had a ticket. 67 when I had a ticket. Yes, if somebody's breaking into if I leave my car outside in my driveway for the night, I was good for that. If I ever leave it outside, if somebody's breaking into it, I catch them. It's like a sensors, okay? If I come out, can I put them down? Not shoot them. Can I put them down with a gun, or I just let it go?
He's not in your home, so he may be ready.
I'm sure there is. But that one I don't know. The rules, everybody has different rules. I want to know.
You have a right to detain.
I'm not gonna shoot them. I'm not getting to that point.
Right.
But if I catch them taking the tires off the car or breaking into the car,
You do have a right to detain him. I'm not gonna say that he's gonna be cooperative with you. More than likely not.
I know how they are.
More than likely not. What we encourage citizens to do at that point is be a good witness. Give us a good description. What is he wearing? Which way did he run? What kind of vehicle is he in? The more information that you can provide to us at that time, the better chances that one of our officers is going to spot him and pull him over.
The same deal with my shed, they broke into the shed, took that stuff out of it. But my wife made me give it a shot, and said, no way. I don't want to see it.
Look into your shed.
They broke into it. And
Again, have you properly identified?
so I noticed in the morning it was open, but I'm saying, I told my wife, this time I'm gonna put some sensors in there, and I'm gonna catch them. But then she didn't get rid of the shotgun. She said, no. You're not gonna lose, have somebody use their knife over some lawnmower, because she could buy from different dogs.
Follow up to this question, if I may. This will be my last question. Nice presentation about the security and safety of McAllen as a city, as opposed to neighboring cities here in the valley. But in our neighborhood here in Mark Landing, there's been a rash of incidents lately in the last month, from burglary, habitation, to vandalism. And I can think of about 7 or 8 just off the top of my head in the last month. So we as a community, the decided that the best way we could back this is to set up a camera system that would focus on both entrances to the neighborhood. And there's only two, it's a horseshoe. So to do that, we try to raise money going door to door. We have a volunteer association. It's not mandatory. The funds are mainly for landscaping and upkeep of the neighborhood in the front. But for this, it's a special request. We went door to door to try and get the money to put these high-tech cameras up. Now, my question is twofold. One, is there any assistance that the city provides for this kind of endeavor within a neighborhood that's not a mandatory association? And two, if there isn't, and we go forward, can we place signs that, or can the city place signs at both entrances that indicate that the entire neighborhood is under video surveillance? Because they may not see the particular camera that we have in mind, but we will see every vehicle going in and out. And while we can't protect every home from a break-in, for example, just a couple of Fridays ago, we had one break-in from the backside of the house. And there's a lot of law enforcement in the neighborhood, which is kind of surprising, but to say that, you know, we're doing our best, that thieves are always going to look for, you know, the vulnerable neighborhood. And ours, I guess, is next in line. So. But putting up that sign would give them, or put them on alert that it is under surveillance. So, A, are there any funds available to help out in this kind of endeavor? If not, can we have these signs posted that will alert everyone that is?
As far as funds, I'm not aware of any funds that are available particularly for that.
Yeah, we have matching funds for homeowner association when it comes to improvement, to the quality of their neighborhood, landscaping, things like that. My guess is that that doesn't qualify, but we'll check, okay? On the second, the answer is yes. We can install those signs for you when you get that system. Absolutely. Yes.
One last question.
Yes, ma'am.
How can I make the neighborhood association become owners association where it's management? Because in a way, we've been trying to raise these funds. I've had a lot of neighbors say, well, it's not fair that we're giving association fees and my next door neighbor is, yet they're going to benefit from what we're doing in our neighborhood. Is there a way to change that?
I don't know, Michelle, do you have any ideas on that one?
A homeowners association can be created when the property is subdivided and everybody buys into it, it's part of their deed, they're put on notice when they buy into it. I think what you're referring to is a neighborhood association that we voluntarily collect the monies. And as it currently stands, there is not a mechanism to make that mandatory for everybody.
But there's no way that you know of to be able to convert a neighborhood association
You can
to a
convert
homeowners
it into that, but
association?
you have to have 100% buy-in.
100% buy-in, okay.
Very, very close to 100% buy-in. Because once you bought the property.
Would that make us responsible for the street? No, or no?
No.
That's only the street.
Yeah, that's only if you go to a private street.
Oh.
And that may be something we can do to, like, for your neighborhood, for instance, go through and be able to say, okay, this is what the city would be responsible for, this is what the homeowners association would be for, or be responsible for. That way, when you're visiting with your neighbors and looking at it, y'all be able to, you know, put facts out there as to what really will be covered or not. And that's something I know Michelle's.
Yes, the planning department will do that. They'll come to any neighborhood meetings that you set up at a house or anywhere that you set it up. We can come out and let them what we can do.
Sure.
Hi, my name is David Rojas. I'm over here at the Kingsley Estate. We do actually have a homeowners association that was started up since the inception of that neighborhood. Thank you for whoever was bringing up the matching funds for the beautifying the neighborhoods, because that's one of the things that we've always wanted to look into. As part of the homeowners association, we're actually responsible for the fence line that faces 23rd Street, that frontage. So one of the things that we were looking for the city of McAllen is to help us try to get matching funds to repair that entire fence line. We've already done our work on finding 3 different bids from companies that could go and do the fence. We've selected one that was right in the middle between all the bids, but we just wanted to see where we can get some matching funds. Now, my understanding is,
Don't start the work yet.
Yeah, don't do anything yet.
Sorry.
Before you talk to us.
We haven't started, and well, one of the things that we wanted to know and we've heard is that those matching funds only last a certain amount of time before it is taken up from other neighborhoods and.
No, it's first come, first served. We budget money every year, and it is a 50/50 grant.
Okay. 50/50. And the other thing that I want to mention
Up
is
to a cap, so.
there is a cap of.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk later. But one of the things that I wanted to mention as well is that we also take care of all the water that is utilized in order to water the whole frontage area. We don't have a sprinkler system. We have a park that we also maintain, and the electricity, including all the light posts, I think are spread among all the homeowners. Instead of, I don't know if the city does that to where whoever has the light post in front of their house ends up paying for that electricity.
Yes.
I think we divide
If it's
that.
on private property. If it's on the public right of way, it's the same thing.
Okay. Well, they're usually right on the sidewalk side where it's kind of on the street, so I'm not sure. But I do believe that we do share that cost.
Yes, ma'am. You had another,
I'll make one comment. From September 10th to the end of December, we have 19 youth softball basketball tournaments. None of them are in the county. Between Harlingen, and that's not including 7 scheduled college coach showcase that are being held in Edinburgh and Los Fresnos. The feedback that I'm getting is that McAllen is charging too much for the field rentals. I don't know what Harlingen is charging or whatever. I will say that McAllen does is strict, and I'm glad it is. As far as the concession stand permits, health department, I love it. It's great. And insurance, dealing with nonprofits and everything else, I think that's perfect. But it's something I think that for city staff, maybe they may want to do a survey or revisit it, because in Hidalgo County, we have about 70% of the basketball teams of the entire valley. So we're seeing on the goal line, but I think it's more of a comment to city staff to say, maybe you might want to relook at compared to what other cities are doing. But as far as all the guidelines and everything else, I think it's perfect.
okay.
But it's just something, because eventually when we do build this park, we want to hit the ground running. But I think we want to do that maybe before it's built, and that way we start getting these tournaments.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make that
Well,
comment.
good. Well, I know Mike and Joe, they'll definitely look into that, see what we can do, because, well, as you saw from the presentation, we want to be competitive, and we want to bring folks here.
I'll be glad to give you a list of those tournaments.
Okay, great. Yes,
For
ma'am.
the beautification that you all mentioned, how is it every year? And how many times can we apply for it?
I believe it's one time a year per association. And then again, as Mr. Rodriguez mentioned, it's first come, first served. We budget a limited amount of money, and it's up to a certain cap amount, 50/50. But you can apply each year for a different project. It does have to be on a public right of way, able to be seen from a collector street.
And the year starts,
It's fiscal year, so that means October 1 to September 30.
so don't wait till January. Somebody else may be ahead of you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am.
What can we do about, we have ordinances, right? In the
Yes.
city. All
Got bunches of them.
And if our neighbors don't keep up with the ordinance, or in our Alvin cul-de-sac, and they park there, even though they have garages, I put my cars in the garage. But when I want to back out, that car's parked there, that car's parked there, and I have to wiggle myself out. Is there a law that I should not park on the street? When we have 3, 4 cars parked in the street, how do I get out? I live at the end.
No.
Yeah, good question.
You can park on the street now if they are blocking. Well, they can.
They're parked in front of my property. Can I tell them don't park so I can get out?
Yeah, now if they're in front of your drive, blocking your ability to get out of your driveway, then absolutely, you call PD and we'll have them. But if they're in the street, there's no ordinance against it.
Even the mailman said, you know, if they park here, I get everything in mail.
That is correct.
But that's the street property, it's private, I mean, it's not my property, it's private property, but there's nothing I can do.
Now, they're parking in front of your mailbox?
Yes.
That's a problem. You can call PD and we will take care of that.
Just ignore it. They just ignore it.
Well, we're gonna address that.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to make a small remark.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, about all the ballparks and everything here, we have here now. When we moved here in 1976, I remember how McAllen was in 1976. We were very, right? We didn't have nothing here. Our son was 8 years old, and my husband was in the service, so we moved around a lot. Okay. I mean, we were just shocked. Mommy, let's go back to Chicago. It was the next station. It was 3 stations. And we had one McDonald's. Remember? It was already far. I don't really remember that.
Yes, ma'am, I remember that.
Probably longer than me years old. Bigger what?
I said that was longer than me years old.
Probably. But, I mean, we grew it, McAllen, when we moved here, we drove all the way up and down the valley. McAllen was the place we were from, we started in 1970s. It's still the best city, the best town in the valley. Right?
Thank you.
But I think we outgrew it, we don't have the control of the city per se anymore. It's not like it used to be. And another thing, when we voted in $15 million for the theater, then there was another $15 for streets and things, and we were going to extend
Bicentennial.
all the way up to 107. That never happened. What's happened?
Where we're at on that, ma'am, is the monies that we had allocated in the bond election for the extension of Bicentennial from Trenton to 107. We had enough money to do a 1-lane or 2-lane road, 1 lane north, 1 lane south. And that was all going to be city money. Well, that's what Mr. Rodriguez was talking about earlier. We have partnered with TxDOT and through the MPO, which is a municipal planning organization. And what we have been able to do is we've been able to take our dollars and leverage those to get state funds. So I think it's basically a 25% to 75%, roughly, or 30.
Yeah, it's a little more, but we've leveraged $7.2 million for that fund. So instead of getting 2 lanes, you're going to get 4.
And so,
But it's even more.
and the problem, the problem with saving money so that we can do more with the money, and we work with TxDOT, is we have to go and get an environmental study done. We have to jump through additional hoops to be able to bring those monies in from TxDOT so that we can use those monies on other streets. And so the plan now is we're getting the money from TxDOT, we're widening the road, so it's going to be 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south, just like it is on the south side of Trenton. But the trade-off is it takes more time. It's still in the works, oh yes ma'am. And I think we're
Late 17?
Late 17, yes. So we're very focused on getting it done, because we know that was a big driver on the road side of the bond.
Now, will it eventually go all the way up to West Davos, to this new development? On Bristol Road, we have park.
Not Bicentennial, but Ware Road will be widened all the way up Monte Cristo.
And that's being done by TxDOT. So, was there another question? Do you?
I just wanted to know, why can't we make an ordinance and every individuals where they go pick up the trash, they leave the trash cans out in front of their homes? Even in our week, or they set them on top of the grass.
Oh, to pull them back from the curb?
Yeah, where I come from, you're from Michigan. You left it out there at 6 o'clock, they didn't pick up the trash. The police officer came by and gave me a $250 ticket. The city made a lot of money. Guess what? People learn. They learn real quick.
Okay.
Well, it needs to be done.
Okay, well, we'll look into that, and that's
Because some subdivisions around here, you don't see a trash can nowhere.
right. No, we can look into that, and that's, I sit on an ordinance review committee with the city, and we meet every other Monday. And the main thrust of that committee, when I asked for it to be formed, was to get rid of ordinances, because there's a lot of things on the books that aren't done and don't need to be there anymore. But we're also looking at new ordinances, so that's something we can look at and see. We can look at other cities. Did you hear that, Michelle, about looking to see if making sure people bring their trash cans back up, and don't leave them out front or on the
I
yard.
just want to add, the board person does do committee outreach Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays for blueberries, and then we tag them and reach them. And we go different sections in the city every month. So we do work with public works on that, so it happens.
Yes, sir, Dave.
I just wanted to add to the comment that you were making about the parking in the street. Although the city may not have an ordinance, our homeowners association does. However, it's very difficult to enforce it because they come back and say, well, the city can't, says that they don't have anything against it. So I'm wondering if there's something that y'all can help us with so that we can enforce our own internal laws that says we cannot have a lot of cars parked on the street.
Anything that's in an HOA, a homeowner association, is deed driven, and we do not get involved, whether it's a collection or the improvements to the subdivision or that. If we don't prohibit it in the city, we can't enforce it in an HOA.
Okay. What about when there's so many vehicles that are parked, it doesn't even allow a fire truck to be able to drive down that street?
Well, that we can look at, that could enforce
Because
it.
they're covered on both sides. And if it's a very narrow street, then we could do something about that. Okay. That's one of our biggest complaints in our neighborhood is people parking in the streets, and there are a few lanes that are narrow that I don't think.
Can't get emergency vehicles in. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
With that, could you have one side of the street, even day, odd day, park on the other, where they only park on one side of the street, not on both?
Are you
I mean,
saying?
that's a possibility.
Yeah. To me, I would prefer that if any car that's parked overnight or for more than a couple of days, if it hasn't moved, then it needs to be towed.
Make sure you leave your name and contact information.
Anybody have anything else?
One last thing for everybody. I've been using that 311 app quite often, and I think it's worked amazingly. I don't know what other cities use it out there, but McAllen is one of the first ones. I kudos to y'all.
Thank you.
Because we have used it. We have used it to report signs or traffic lights that have fallen down or traffic signs that have fallen down, and they replace them in 1 or 2 days. We've also reported to mark the curbs where the fire hydrants are located so that there's no parking, and y'all come and painted those. We've actually taken pictures of houses that have overgrown grass, and they have come through. It does take some time and persistence, but they do come through. So thank you, kudos.
Do I get to talk about it?
Sure, yeah. Thank you. He just said good things about you.
Yes. So let me just say real quick to follow up with that. The 311 app is very helpful for us because, as you know, we've got the 311 call center, and if you call in and give information, what happens a lot of times, people may call the city and say, you know what, there's some tall grass in a house, it's somewhere here on my street, but just take care of it, and then they hang up and we don't get enough information. And so to try to send crews out there to deal with that, it's tough. We'll do it and we'll try to find it. But the app is very helpful for 2 reasons. One, it asks you for a specific address, which allows us then to go right where we need to go. The second thing, it works off the GPS on your phone, which is good. You can take pictures. The other nice thing about it is when you get on the app and you enter a request for service, it goes straight into our software. So the information doesn't have to get looked at and typed in somewhere else. When you submit it with the app, a work order is generated and the crew knows they need to get out there and take care of it. And so it happens fast. And so a lot of times if you just enter the information on your app, before somebody gets to work, it's already in his queue and he gets to the office and he knows, you know what, there's a pothole over here I need to take care of, and they'll work very quickly. The other thing I want to mention is that there's also a public works app that's out there, which also relates not only to your trash pickup, but also your brush pickup, because somebody had mentioned, it's very frustrating when the neighbor waits to put their brush out until the day after the truck comes. And so we're encouraging people, make sure you download also that Public Works app, because if you put your address in there, it'll send you reminders that, by the way, this week is when we're going to come pick up your brush, which helps you remember, hopefully, the weekend before to get all your stuff out there so we can pick it up and get done for the months.
Any chance those can be integrated into that one?
We're working on that, but so far they're separate, but we're trying to get there. But we like the app, and we're always looking for comments. You can leave comments with that as well. And again, if you are not getting results, if you submit something to the app, and I know somebody mentioned a tree, if you're not getting results, call us at City Hall, because we want to know. We'll take care of those things. Our goal is to make sure that we're taking good care of it. We want happy citizens, and we want to make sure that you're getting the results. So if you're not seeing it, call us, and we'll take care of it.
What's the name of the public work app, just so everybody knows?
McAllen Public Works. Yeah. Do a search at the Google Play Store or the iTunes for McAllen Public Works.
Okay. Joaquin?
Can you tell the folks here about advisory boards and how they can get more involved with this?
That's an excellent point. Thank you very much. There are a number of advisory boards that the city has, and they range from parks to senior citizens advisory boards to historical preservation. They run the gamut. There's a number of them, and we are always looking for folks to serve on those boards. And it's I've had 2 appointments to boards go unappointed so far because I haven't been able to find people to put on those boards. And so I highly encourage y'all, by showing up here tonight, that shows me, y'all are interested in having a good city and doing your level best to help make the city even better. So I would really encourage y'all, please go on the city app, or the city website. There's a list of all the advisory boards. You can pick what you're interested in. You can fill out a form online and put down, 1 or 2 that you're interested in. And trust me, when we get a report of folks that are interested in certain advisory boards, it'll have the district that they represent based off of their address. And I got to tell you, at District 2, I don't have a whole lot of folks volunteering. District 1 and District 5, they really get out there, and there's a lot of them that are asking to be appointed to these boards. So, if y'all aren't interested, visit with your neighbors, please, because we want to make sure that there's a good cross-representation across the city, and there's a need. There's going to be a bunch of appointments coming up in January, so please visit, go back to your neighborhood associations, your homeowners associations, visit with them. If y'all need me to come out and visit, I can bring the whole list of all the advisory boards that are out there. But the advisory boards are the ones that are really making a difference at that level, and it's those boards that they are most interested in, like the softball, Parks and Recreation would be a perfect one. Joaquin is currently serving on the Parks and Recreation Board. So if there's something in there that's in your wheelhouse that you're really interested in, we can get you on there. The library boards, there's a bunch of different things. So please take a look at it, and I'd be more than happy to visit with you some more, answer any questions y'all might have about the boards. They're generally not too time consuming. There are some that are a little more time consuming than others, but they're a really good way to get involved, know what's happening, and really make a difference at the ground level. So we appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Some of those boards include lunch.
Yeah.
Not many of them.
But there's usually bottled water at all of them and some candy. Okay. So anything else? Anybody have anything else? Okay, before we do something, before we leave here, just because we had this, and Roy's probably cringing now, but a couple weeks ago, there was a town hall meeting that Mayor Commissioner Cortez held for District 1. And the medians were the things that blew up, and some people came in and said a whole bunch of stuff. And I just want to tell you, I told Roy not to include that in this presentation, but if there's anybody in here that wants to talk about the medians, please feel free to talk about it. We'll talk. I don't want that not being in the presentation to hold anybody back. If it's something that's really an issue or you really have a question, please feel free to ask it. You can do it now or you can do it after the fact, however you want to do it. But I appreciate everything that y'all have done by coming out here. Y'all have been very gracious of your time and of your questions, and that says a lot. So I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll open it up to any other questions. And if y'all don't want to talk about the medians, then Mitch will have something to write about in the monitor tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you all.